This morning, millions of people are still in the dark thanks to Hurricane Irene, and thousands of homes are at risk because of flooding.
Yeah, there are flood problems up and down the East Coast. As we've told you, it is especially bad in some areas of New Jersey, New York State, and in Vermont. With us this morning is Colonel John Boule. He's commander of the New York District of the Army Corps of Engineers. Sir, good to have you with us this morning. Tell me, what's your biggest concern this morning as you look at the damage and the aftermath?
Yeah, thanks, Erica and Jeff. It's great to be here with you. And I think it is. You hit it on the nose. Power and flooding, especially the flooding. Probably in priority order, flooding first is the biggest concern, and then power second.
Let's start by talking about the flooding a little bit more. The biggest concerns flooding-wise are where?
In New Jersey, in particular, northern New Jersey, and also in upstate New York right now. And I think you're going to see in New England, as reports come in, there's going to be some challenges there also. Because
it still may be days before it gets worse in some places in New England, correct?
That's correct. Some of these rivers take a day or two to really fill in and rise and crest. So, we've got a few tough days ahead of us.
So that's what people have to take into account, is that even if some areas are seeing the water recede, it could still get much worse in other areas. When we talk about power outages, we're talking about millions of people up and down the East Coast. And a lot of folks are looking at days, in some cases weeks, before that power is going to come back on. You can see some of the numbers there, 2.5 million people in Virginia alone. What is the first priority when it comes to restoring power in many of these areas?
Well, I think the first priority is to make sure that critical public facilities have power if they lose power. Hospitals, shelters, those kinds of things that emergency officials, first responders, city officials, municipalities need to really make sure that they're sustaining life and making sure that their population and citizens are safe. So that's where the Corps of Engineers comes in, is we work with FEMA and we bring in our emergency power teams, and we restore power to critical public facilities at the direction of the federal authorities. And
in a lot of places it's tough. Here in New York, Jeff and I both live in the city. Neither one of us lost power because a lot of our power lines are underground. Where my mother lives about 90 miles away, she was telling me about trees literally wrapped in power lines. That's part of the issue too, these lines above ground, right?
That's exactly right, and that's why the city did so well, because their power is underground. The hurricane has three weapons. You've got surge. We were good on surge waves. We've got rain, and then we've got wind, and wind is going to result in power outages, and that's the challenge in the suburbs.
Can we talk about the preparations just a little bit? Because I know some public officials now come in a little bit of criticism today for over-talking the storm, possibly overhyping. And in fairness, the media is as well. Were we over, I guess you can never be over-prepared, but did we overdo it in terms of talking about it? Or is that needed?
Well, I think you probably overdid it in terms of talking about it.
We had a lot of airtime.
I walked right into that one.
No, but I mean, I've got to hand it to the mayors, to the governors. I think the strategy was go big early, and I think they took the necessary precautions. And as a result, you look at the fatalities, the injuries, very small, minimal, and that's a credit to them for their preparation and their planning and the decision making that they did. So hats off to them.
Yeah, could have been much worse. Great to have you here this morning, sir. Thanks again.